January 2021 meeting of the Forsyth County Amateur Radio Club. My name's Sam Poindexter. I'll just ask everyone to please mute your mic until you get ready to speak. That'll cut down on noises in the background, angry spouses, dogs barking, or whatever. And then when you get ready to speak, turn your cell phone. I'd like to take a couple of minutes right now and welcome a couple of new members to the club. Appreciate Joe just introducing himself. And Joe, I'll give you a call in the morning. Also, we have, and if I butcher these names, please forgive me because I've never heard them. I've just seen them in print. So I'd like to recognize Trip Winslow is a new member, and he is testing soon. And I'd like to welcome Scotty Howerton to the club. Scotty passed his tech exam Saturday. Ordinarily, if we were meeting in person, we'd all give a big round of applause, but we we can't do that via Zoom. Scotty's 12 years old, lives in Winston-Salem, and Scotty's grandfather, Wally, is with us tonight also, visiting, W-A-8-L-L-Y. And also Ricky Hubner, W0RCY, has just joined the club. Are any of you guys with us tonight?
I see Scotty.
Hey, Scotty.
Scotty, is your dad a professor in Greensboro?
Yes.
No, I know your dad. I didn't know he was interested in ham radio. We'll talk later.
Okay, David. Congratulations. You're Scotty's Elmer. We appreciate that.
Can do.
Welcome, Scotty, to the club, and congratulations. That's a big achievement to get your technician ticket.
Hey, Sam.
Yes.
W0RCY is here.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Howdy.
Hey, Ricky, what do you want us to call you?
Rick is fine. But,
Rick? Okay.
Yeah. My email address is Ricky. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate
Well,
it.
we're glad to have you on board. And like I say, this is a little difficult. If we were meeting in person, this would be a whole different ball game. And hopefully sometime this year, we'll get back to that. I had a couple of announcements tonight. It's official. Your new license or upgrade will cost you $35. Virginia has just passed a new wireless communications device law, and ham operators were exempt. This is coming soon to North Carolina, and I would urge you to be aware and contact your representatives because we want ham radio operators to be exempt from this law in North Carolina too. We had another silent key, Tag Bowers, K4TAG, and we're really sorry to hear that. There's a big write-up in the newsletter this month. Rest in peace. That's really hard this time of the year. Just wanted to mention too that it's time to pay dues. You can pay dues via PayPal on the website, or you can use the post office. The address and instructions for PayPal are on the website. So at this time, I think we'll get a treasurer's report from Kent. Kent, you've got the floor. Kent, you're muted. Okay.
My space bar is not working here. It doesn't seem like. Anyway, did just want to remind again everybody about paying their dues, that they are due by the end of January. So if you can get them into us, that'll certainly help. As of right now, we're in fairly good shape. Our balance as of this afternoon is $3,508.17. So with no major expenses coming down the road, so we're in fairly good shape right now, Sam.
Okay. Thank you, Kent. Harlan, you want to give us a Oxcom Aries update? Somebody wake up Harlan.
Is it not working? Now it's working.
There you
go. Okay, I just didn't get the mic down far enough. We are back in Oxcom Net operations on Thursday nights at 8:30, 1470, and I encourage everybody to make that. One of the things I wanted to say real quick about Oxcom, and we've got a great staff of people that are working with us. We have David N2AWE and Stacy W1LLO, as well as Jim Mansfield WA4NOT as our operations type people. We also have folks that do public information and other things for us, tech support. We appreciate the support the club gives the group of folks, because essentially all the folks are part of the club anyway. So it's kind of nice. One thing that our staff members are doing is they're going to be working on some special training for you. Dave, for example, David is working on coming up with WinLink training. That'll occur on the third Thursday night of one of these months coming up. It's going to talk to you about how to set up WinLink, download it, and hopefully get it set up on your computer and on your radio or working with your radio. We're going to work through that initial process. That is a push. We need to become WinLink capable. That is a push from the state, and that is something we need to make happen. Is that ability as much as we can. That is also a federal push from DHS as well for emergency operations. We have some training coming up, and I know that we do a lot of training, and here's one of the issues we have, folks, and I understand your frustration. It's mine as well. You know, you think about firemen, they train every day, but they turn around and they fight a fire probably once every other day. They're constantly running calls, putting their training to use. We train continuously, but we're kind of in a different realm. We really hope we never have to use that training, because if we do, it's bad day in bedrock. And we really want to maintain proficiency without going over that edge of too much training. So this year, my goal, since we're stuck at home for a little bit longer, not knowing exactly how long that's going to be, is to start trying to do more drill activity, more exercises. Instead of actually training, let's start putting our training to use, even through exercises and drills. So look for those coming down the pike. Some of them will happen during normal nets. Some will happen on a weekend. Some will happen during a weeknight. They'll be 1, 2, maybe 3 hours in length. They're not going to be super long, but they're going to be enough to where we can exercise. And I encourage you to do it, because the skills are perishable. Along with training on the 23rd of February, for those that have not had Web EOC training, Forsyth County Web EOC training, there is just-in-time training that's being provided. It will be provided from 10 a.m. to 12:30. You have to register for the course on NC terms like you would any other government course, and yours truly will be the instructor for that course. So I will approve as many folks as we can put in, with, of course, the public safety folks take priority. So with that being said, Terry, I sent you a link for the Skyward. You should have that by now. To please put that on the web, and we'll be getting more information for you to put up on the web as well. Any questions on Oxcom? Thanks, Sam.
Harlan, was that February 24th? Was that the date?
23rd, it's a Tuesday.
Hey, Harlan, Terry,
Yeah,
I
Terry.
have that course on the website. It's the third item down. I think I put that info up about 3 days ago.
Good enough. Thank you. That's how we're going to do Skywarn training, folks, this year is all by web, and it's through the National Weather Service. You take the course, make sure I get a copy of your certificate. But it's individually done. And real quick, I'm going to back up, Sam, since we walk back on training. Make sure you take your ICS courses again. Take ICS 100, 200, 700, 800. And that'll give you the most recent courses that is required by the state. Take it 100, 700, 200, 800. Take it in that sequence and you'll understand it better. I am right now in the middle of class. We will end on Friday. And I will be certified shortly thereafter by the state of North Carolina to teach all the and by FEMA to teach these ICS courses in a virtual or real classroom setting. So I'll also be able to do them classroom. Here's the reason I'm encouraging you to take them online. ICS 100 takes you about, I think it's a 3-hour course online. If we do it in a classroom situation, it's 8.5 hours. So it's better to take these courses, if those 4 courses online, if you can. But once we're certified, we'll do the courses if we need to. Thanks, Sam.
Okay, thank you, Harlan. Finally, Dale, do you want to give us a repeater report?
Okay, can you hear me okay, Sam?
Yes.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Well, we'll be kind of quick, pretty much the same as last month. The 4.7 machine is still working okay. We've been blessed with not having a lot of interference. Seems to be okay, working all right, and anticipate possibly a site visit sometime in the next few weeks. Just trying to get some things together so we can do some multiple projects when we get up there. Moving on to the Baptist Hospital site, the 14664 site and the UHF repeater site. We're still working on getting access there, so not sure how soon they'll be done, but we've got to go ahead and move forward and at least get at least one visit in the next few months. That's a goal. The Echolink system is still up and running. It's split between the 145.47 repeater and 147.315 repeater, mainly to support the Vagabond net. Let's see, what other things did I have here? Oh, in terms of the testing is unfortunately still suspended at this point in time for the safety of the applicants and the examiners as well. If we're able to find an outdoor site, even with the cooler weather, we'll try to work with that. But right now there hasn't been any that's been identified. So we've been recommending folks go to Greensboro, High Point, or Lexington to be able to take their test. And congratulations to the new folks that just took their test. You're going to really enjoy ham radio. Are there any questions at this point?
Hey, Dale, Harlan.
Yeah.
Get with me when you can sometime this week in the afternoon or in the evening so we can talk about the Baptist access.
Okay, that sounds good. We'll try to give you a call here one evening this week. Thanks, Harlan.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you, folks. Thank you, Sam. Back to you.
Okay, thank you, Dale. Appreciate that. And I just wanted to mention one more thing before we get into the show and tell. Whenever the meeting ends tonight, a lot of us will hang around after the meeting. Everyone is welcome to stay, chat. We'll be here for a while after the meeting is over. I just wanted to mention that. Okay, this is the month for show and tell presentations. And I guess the easiest way to do this is I will ask for volunteers, and then when you're ready to present, if you would just say so, and then it's your turn. So at this time, is there anyone who wants to go first? Don't everybody start at once.
All right, I'll
Hey,
step up.
Nene, you can. Oops. Whoever said go ahead.
Am I in there?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Spent most of this year taking classes, being home, but one of the things I did, and I can see that, is a J-pole that I made. I made 3 of them actually. One of them's on the roof right now, and it's about 1.3 to 1 across the whole ham band. It came out really nice. I'm going to cheat and backtrack a little bit since I haven't been a member long and show you my real love when it comes to building kits. As I have, let's see if I can put these where you can see them. There we go. 2 Craft radios, a K1 and a K2 that I use quite a bit. I was using the K1 on the field day today, or not today, last year. And I plan on using the K2 next year. But those are some of the things that I have built in the past. And that's all I have right now. We can go to the next person.
What is that J-pole? Is that copper?
It's copper tubing, 1/2 inch. And it's soldered all the joints. I put caps on the end so there's no water ingress. And I have tape right here with clamps. That's where I have to attach it when it's to get the right standing wave ratio on it. But came out real nice. Then I polished it up, put a little wax on it. It stays nice and shiny on the roof.
That's good. How far have you talked on that antenna?
I've hit most of the repeaters in the area, which before getting here, I couldn't do that. I was using just a little walkie-talkie handheld, but I can get around pretty good right now. I can't get to Stacy or Harlan on Simplex, but I can make the repeaters. And I'm down in Clemens.
Hey, David,
Yes.
you realize, of course, by leaving the label on the tubing, it's detuned the antenna.
Well, actually, this label I put on here, I have it marked with my call and the 2 meters and the frequency it's cut for. And it's tuned with this on. So it is tuned.
Pulling your chain.
So when I did that, I made a 3rd one that's cut for marine frequencies, VHF around 156. So I have a VHF marine radio also, which I for my boating days I still have. So I did that just for fun.
Okay, thank you, David. Who's next? Dr. Meyer, did I hear you speak up?
You did, so I can.
Sure.
Okay, I had this packed last year still from Michigan, but I'm getting stuff unpacked. And let's see if I can switch to the other camera again so it can be seen. Should have done that a second ago. Okay. And let's see if I can get that in the view somewhere. There we go. Nope, there it is. Okay, that little black box with the antenna on top, currently stowed, it goes up, is one of 3 VOTs. That's a VOR range test facility I built for airports in South Carolina and Michigan, still in use as of 2 years ago. You can see what a VOR is if you go to Wikipedia and look up VOR, Victor Oscar Romeo, VHF omnidirectional range. For airplane navigation, they use beacons that are radio lighthouses scattered around the country, which was the principal system for decades, now being essentially GPS is supplanting that. But in order to use that, every 30 days, to use it in instrument conditions, every 30 days, it's necessary for a pilot to calibrate the system on board the aircraft. And for that, the FAA back in the 50s came up with the idea of a standardized VOR range that just transmits an ident that says it's a test facility, and that nominally transmits a signal as if you're north of the station. And so you can check that on your equipment every 30 days. And a lot of airports have that as a convenience for instrument flyers. Requires somebody at the airport also check the test facility every 30 days and sign off on it. It was built from a TV transmitter used for transmitting. Let's see if I can get that to show up in the light there. Okay. Was built from a TV transmitter, channel 6 being a little bit below the 108.0 megahertz designated frequency, for the test facility. And it was given a more stable carrier and the ability to accept a signal with an adapter from a cell phone or an MP3 player that provides either the default test signal or a signal showing other azimuths, other positions relative to the station, that's used for annual or biennial calibration of the aircraft's equipment. So these were used at public airports near Detroit and Columbia, South Carolina, and this is a third one. So, any questions before going to the next person?
So that's still in use today or no?
Well,
GPS.
last I checked, I think it was a year and a half ago, it was still in use. And I don't know any reason it's not still in use.
Is it a backup system now, or is it?
No, this would be a primary. In
Oh.
other words, it's used for testing the equipment before you take off into instrument conditions. You want to know that that needle is actually giving you an accurate azimuth. You don't want to be in the air and find out that when you think you're south of the VOR, you're actually east of it. Rather, could make a difference. So this thing sends out a signal that can be picked up before you take off on the ground, and to check your VOR receiver, OBI, OBS, Observed Frequency Indicator, and if it reads other than north, or what it's been individually set to, north is the default if it's not by prior arrangement. If it doesn't show that, then you know that you need to get your VOR equipment checked. And it's really very simple. Back in the 50s, there were aircraft used what are essentially CB radios, a different band, but the common use was crystal controlled frequencies that were designated for a given area. This was not for the air traffic control space, controlled airspace, but this was for what today got mostly, well, it's getting complicated. And so there were lots of radios around at the airports for monitoring that. So the FAA actually used to sell a record, a vinyl record that you would play on a photograph, and that would be connected, its output connected to the radio's microphone input, and it would simply play the test signal over and over again. It's a combined FM and AM signal, F3A3, on that at 30 hertz carrier, that if they are in phase, it indicates you're north of the station. If the degree to which they're out of phase indicates your bearing, your azimuth from the station. The way it was originally done in World War II was an antenna would rotate like a radar dish, and its transmitted signal would vary in amplitude as the lobes of the antenna rotated from pointing at you to away from you. And then an F3 signal gave a reference to which that was compared. So simply and a onboard capacitor array adjusted by rotating a ring would, when those two lined up, it would show as the needle centered on the indicator, and thus you're on that azimuth, that phase difference. That answer the question?
Yes, that's interesting.
So, but no, this somebody wants one. This one's available for use if some airport needs one.
Thank you, Bobby. Who's next?
Bob would like to.
Okay, Bob.
Bob has a radio tube that he built.
Okay. Good evening. Just quick thing.
Hey.
Here in this past year, it's basically a portable 2-meter 440 operation in a ammo can. But I wanted it to be able to operate anywhere. And so what I ended up with is a battery pack. And this is the battery pack where I carry cable. And inside the battery pack is various adapter plugs that I can hook up to car batteries, quickly, cigarette lighter, you name it. And I have a I can also have another output that I can run other stuff off of if I so desire. And this gadget here on the back of the lid, where I'm pointing to my thumb, is a 4-panel solar controller. And I also have it set up, and I didn't drag out all the cables for this stuff tonight. My family room is getting crowded as it is. I have 4 of these 25-watt solar panels. I just brought one out tonight because the last thing I want to do is break them. And this guy's got 2 12-volt, 80-amp-hour solar cells in it. Or not solar cells, sealed lead-acid batteries. And that powers my ammo can radio. In the lid, I have spare fuses for everything. I can't tell you how many times I've seen people out without spare fuses and wish they had them. This is the actual radio. It's an old Bofang I had laying around here. Works pretty good. And nice mic clip there. Got a built-in speaker. Here on the end, I can plug in 115 volts AC. If I happen to be somewhere near a power cord, commercial power generator or something of that nature. And I have, normally when I'm out in the field, like parade or something like that, I'll use my big tall tripod with one of Howard's Harold's antennas on it. But I can also use this with a little less distance And I have a ground here I usually put in the ground to get a little better radiation pattern. And I can select AC or DC from this guy. And I'm pretty much ready to go. I got an external speaker plug here. I can plug headsets in or other stuff. I got a data jack where I can use for when I want to reprogram, download the frequencies. And I got another little meter here that measures voltage and current that just operates when I have it hooked on batteries or DC. This also has, in case you haven't figured it out, because it's working right now, plugged into AC. I got a 30 amp 12 volt DC power supply in this case here. It's pretty handy, and I got a little bag down here somewhere. Basically, I carry all the various cables, so I can just about hook it up to any kind of power source. Works good, particularly the solar part. I haven't been able to out-talk the solar charge. Okay, that's it. Just my little project for something to keep me out of Mary's hair. Okay, Mary. Mike.
That was awesome.
Pardon?
That was awesome, Bob.
Oh yeah, I didn't hear what Sam had to say because Mary hadn't muted my mic yet. I think it's muted.
No, your mic is working.
Sam, you're muted.
Pardon?
I was just asking if anybody had any questions.
Oh, okay.
I was just telling him it was awesome.
Hey, Bob, this is Terry, W3NPS. I'd like to know where you get the box. What's that, an ammo box? And what size is that?
Oh no, they came all the way from High Point. What's the name of the place? Harbor Freight. They had them sale here about a year ago for I think $10 or $11 a piece because they're metal, they're real, not those plastic things.
Bob, tell us the truth. Did you or Mary really do that?
Yes, I didn't know. I went along for the ride, and I don't think I did I do the, yeah, I did the labeling for the front of the radio.
That figures.
I was gonna ask, how did you
I
do
had
the
to
labels?
line that all up and type it up and put it in the right place so that it was underneath the right holes and all of that kind of stuff.
How did you
do any electrical?
How did you do the labels, Mary?
I do it with is it ink spot? Let me see if I can no, it won't let me do that.
You didn't do it on your sewing machine, did you?
That would have been too easy.
Yeah.
What
I have some real strong needles for that.
That's the real headache I have nowadays with the fronts of panels. If I could find me a good used engraving machine somewhere, I'm talking about like we used to make instrument panels with and that kind of stuff, I think I'd snatch it up, but I can't find them because they're probably antique like me. But and these decal things, there used to be, back in the 50s and 60s, you could buy decals just about any subject in electronics, schematics, you name it, and you soak them in water and you slid them off. And then you let them dry and spray them with lacquer, and they work good. But the engraving's my first choice because these computer design labels, I think they're terrible.
Yeah, but that he has no choice but to deal with what I can do. I will find that out and tell you what the name of that thing is.
Thank you.
Stacy.
Yeah, Harold said I'm not allowed to use the label maker.
I buy a transparent. I have both transparent and white background. A label by Nito, which is an 8.5 by 11 sheet, and then I can print on that, and then you peel that off and put it on carefully. But I use a program. I think it's called Ink something or other, and it is a vector drawing program. And so where like most drawing programs are pixel, this one is like a real sharp line. So if you blow it up, it's still going to be a sharp line. It's not going to pixelate and make stair steps.
It's like Adobe Illustrator.
Yes.
Terry,
It's a very crisp, nice print when it prints out.
the question about the size of the box, that's a 50 caliber ammo box.
Yes.
There are sources for them, like you said, High Point, any surplus store. If you want a good variety of different sizes, the Delks down on 64 going to Ashboro has a good selection of many different sizes.
This is a really nice heavy metal on these guys.
Yeah, the real ones, surplus. These are pretty good. They're good and heavy, and they're well finished.
Harold, you need to clean up your bench.
I can take care of that.
Okay, who's next?
Well, I've got one.
Okay.
Let me switch cameras. Yeah, that's dialed in. This is a little QRP rig that I built a couple of years ago. I did a presentation on it for the Salisbury group, and I could do it for this group at some point where I actually documented the building of it. But it's called an MCHF. It's a QRP all mode, all band rig. It has a touch screen, and it's kind of like a KX3 wannabe. I did purchase the boards. A guy in England did them, and the box was a Chinese knockoff, but it's not a kit per se. You have to source the parts, and they have some bill of material stuff. And the thing has evolved quite a bit since I built this. If you're interested in it, you could look it up just by Google MCHF QRP. But anyway, it's kind of neat. It's got a built-in little pan adapter. See at the bottom. Can you see this? I'm not sure how good this is going to show up. I guess fairly good. And this is a touch screen.
Yeah.
Well, like I say, I won't go into a whole lot of detail. I used this several years ago and won the North Carolina QSO Party QRP first place with it. It'll do about 15 watts max, 15 watts peak on the side. It also does all modes. It does AM, CW, on all bands. So, kind of neat, but it's all surface mount, so it's quite a challenge to build it. And I won't hold it tonight, but if you'd like, I can do a presentation on the building of it at some point. And there you go.
That's nice, Doug. Anyone have questions for Doug?
Looks like a KX3.
Yes, it does. It certainly does. It's I've got it sitting on a stand here, but you can see it's got USB inputs. You can update the firmware on it through these ports. That's the antenna line there. Over here, it's got you can run digital modes using line in, line out. Most of this heat sink. I put a little fan on here with a little thermal sensor inside it. It'll cool it. There's a built-in speaker. You can run an external speaker out the line here. Headphone jack. And your key. So yeah, it's pretty advanced little unit. And then I have this box. This not a high quality box or anything, but I can store it all in this box and tote it. Got a little bag. I keep a portable antenna in, so if I want to take it with me to the beach or something like that, I can get on and play radio.
You build that little stand out of wood?
Yeah, just a little wooden stand.
Doug, what do you think you have into that thing after it was all said and done?
About $500. It runs. I can't remember all the details. It's got a microprocessor in there and bunch of it's an SDR receiver. So
was it tough to source the parts for it?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Most of the stuff I was able to get from Mauser, and there's resources to help you. A bunch of guys have built these by now, and it's ongoing. So they've advanced it. It doesn't look like it's a little more advanced than this one. I think it's a larger screen now, and I think they have cases available. And I'm not sure. I haven't really kept up with it. I built this a couple of years ago. So.
I noticed it had a spectrum in the bottom too.
Yeah, a little like CAN adapter spectrum display. Like I say, it's a touch screen, so if you want to, if you see a signal, you can touch it and it'll tune to it. A little tricky because it's so small. But, kind of neat.
Use a MOSFET in the final of that?
Yes, pair of them.
520?
I can't remember for sure. That sounds right. 5 something. And the pair of them will do about 15 watts.
That's probably an IRF 15.
I don't recall, but I can do a presentation. I've got a lot of photographs and stuff of the building of the boards and all that. I pretty much documented it as I went along. So that's the story on that deal. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, Doug. That's very neat. Okay, who's next?
I can try something here.
Okay.
Let's see if we can share my screen and find the right screen to share. Can you see that one?
No. There you go.
Okay. Everybody see it?
Yep.
Okay, this is a free program called Ham Clock. And it's running on a Raspberry Pi. It'll run on just about any kind of Raspberry Pi. And it's very, I like it because it's colorful, and I leave it up on one of my monitors usually. And all these different areas are configurable. So right now it's showing the orange is me. So obviously my local time coordinates, and you can see the little dot on the map for where I am. This DX is any place that you click. So if I click over here, it'll make that the DX point and shows the actual Great Circle Path. Actually, it'll show it all the way around the world. Here's the sun. All these things, so it's showing the weather where I click where the DX is, but that's all these things you can kind of cycle through. So I'm clicking on it now. There's the KP index. There's vocab, local weather, sunspots. There have been a lot of sunspots recently. There haven't been any in the last few days. That's why, or tonight. That's why it's showing 0, but you can see the map of the sunspots. Here's clusters information, and it's actually displaying this cluster information down on the map. And here we've got different planetary configurations. Here are the beacons. You can turn those off if you want. Turn them back on. Very configurable, very free, and a lot of people use it. And I just thought it was something that I'd like to share with you. So that's about it. Any questions?
Ken, this is Bruce. We work with a Raspberry Pi here, and it's always good to see something that runs on the Raspberry Pi. So did you compile that, or is it an install?
No, it's just an install. I don't exactly remember how it's running. It's not an image because it's running, as you can see here, on a Raspberry Pi that I have all kinds of other things on. This is a full Raspbian image.
Okay.
But if you just Google Ham Clock, you'll find out all kinds of information on here. I'll share just to show you, if I can find. Let me share this screen. I think it's that one. Can you see that?
Roger.
So this is just one example of all the documentation that's on it. It defines all the different items, but it's very well documented. Just Google Ham Clock, and
okay.
you will find it.
All right. Thank you, Ken.
You're welcome. Let me. How do I get out of this? My puppy. Am I still sharing?
Yeah.
Who let the dogs out?
Well, I think we're going to have to watch him for the next. Oh, here we go. There we go. Sorry about that.
It's all right.
Thank you, Ken. That was great.
You're welcome.
I have something, Sam.
Okay.
Let me share a screen. I guess you notice that tonight I'm wearing a headset as opposed to just sitting in front of the camera. And I think some of you also know that, well, wait a minute now, where's my screen? There it is. Some of you know that I get up in the mornings and participate in this. I'm not seeing my screen for some reason or another. Let me try that. No, that's not it. That's not it. That's not it. I don't know where it is. In any case, I get up in the mornings and turn on the radio, and there's some guys on 7163. Now, I've mentioned this before, that 7163 on 40 meters, 7163.net. Now, let me see if I can share the screen, and it's just not doing it. So without being able to share the screen, we'll have to go to the next best thing, Sam. And that would be to untether my camera and maybe turn it around. That looks like Sam. Let me switch screens here. There we go. I'll try to pin this down so it doesn't move around a lot. Can you see the CQ magazine?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good. CQ magazine is these guys at 7163net came upon a way to untether yourself from your station and yet operate it. This is 7600 here like I run. No, that's not 7600. I don't know what that is. Anyway, this right here is a device made by Plantronics, and it's used in a lot of office situations where you got the headset, you got a base station, and they found a way to hook that base station to the radio. And if your radio runs on Vox, like mine does, you can operate wirelessly. The headset itself operates on a different frequency. Let me get down here to some of the meat of the things. I wish I could turn this the other way, but essentially you just wire up a microphone plug to this thing using a Cat5 cable, standard old Cat5 cable. And that's what I did. I have my audio and my microphone going into the radio. Because of the radio that I have to use a blocking capacitor for the 5 volts because actually the headset, I have a Bob Hiles headset, and also have to have a blocking capacitor set up for that. So
All
essentially, say again?
Yes, all ICOMs need
All
that.
ICOMs are like that, that's right. So essentially, I just unplugged my ICOM headset. I put a connector, just a standard old 2-prong connector, ground in the center on both the sound and the microphone, and plugged it into my Heil adapter, and bang, right away it works. The good thing about this, and I'm going to switch to a different screen here. Let's see. A different article that came along later was this is from October of 18, which is about a year later. And this is a different headset. This is the Plantronics W720, and that's what I have. Now this situation, and I got the W720, which is a double earphone headset with the microphone. And you can hook your transceiver into it. You can hook your cell phone into it. And you can use the computer into it. And that's basically what I'm doing tonight. So I'm untethered from my computer, from my Zoom session. And I tested it a few minutes ago. I walked all the way back to the bathroom, which is about as far away as you can get in the house here, and was still able to hear Harlan Q5, no problem, no breaking up. The headset itself, or this system, is good for 300 feet. So if you want to turn the radio on to something and walk out and work in the garden or something, you've got plenty of range to do that. And I tried to talk to Jerry tonight. I was trying to take Jerry's cell phone call and put it onto my radio, but I haven't gotten far enough into this thing. I just got my last cable today and got all this hooked up. But it's a pretty neat little system. And right here is the system itself. And I got the Cat5 cable unplugged, but the 2 cables going in the back, you see, one of them's a power cable, the other one's going to the computer. Now, I bought this thing. I'm going to switch this back to me. If you go on eBay and look for this thing, you'll find it on eBay, but you'll also find that it's a little bit pricey. It's up to $100 now. The one that I bought off of OfferUp, and I paid $50 for it. And the seller was in Washington State, and that guy boxed that thing up and sent it to me. I had it here in less than a week. The total cost on it was about $62 because I had to pay the shipping on it. But we got 9 hours on the headset battery, or at least that's what they say. Haven't tested it that far yet. But for somebody doing a pileup or operating a contest, this is a must because both hands are free and you can type away and do whatever logging you want to do. You're free to switch things around on the screen, except for screen sharing. Apparently that won't work for whatever reason. But it's a good system. The place where you go to look for all of this information is Kilowatt 5 Papa Alpha, K5PA.com. At K5PA.com, you will find how to wire it up to any radio. All you got to have is that little device over there, the Plantronics W720, and it works very well indeed. You can hear the quality of the audio. I worked a guy this afternoon in New Mexico. Some of you have probably worked him before. He is K5DOB or Kilo Echo 5 DOB. I scratched through it, so I can't really read it. But anyway, he's known as the audio man. And you go talk to that guy, he'll tell you what's right and wrong with your audio. He'll look up your rig and he'll tell you how to adjust it on the air. So he's a good resource to have. But I talked to him this afternoon, and he said the audio on air was just perfect. It was exactly what needed to happen. So I'm real pleased with the purchase. It was fun pulling together the cables and the parts and crossing my fingers and hope it all worked. And of course, I got to move all of this back over here to my rig, which is behind me. And I'll have to cable over here to this rig or to this particular computer if I want to use it on Zoom. But another ham radio fun project, a lot of fun. And Scotty, I'm going to try to chat with you and give you my phone number and have your dad give me a call when he gets a minute. I know he's probably dealing with school right now, but when he gets a minute, I know him from church. And so I used to play golf with him too, and he would beat me like a rented mule. He was good, and I was not. Anyway, thanks for the opportunity here, Sam, and
okay.
Back to net control as it were. Any questions? Not much I can answer because I'm still very new with the device. K5PA.com. Look them up, and if you're interested, you can get these things a little more expensive on eBay and some other places. I have another one on order from a different source, but it hasn't showed up, and it probably won't. So they're tough to get, but might try to see if I can find a couple of other similar devices and wire them in at some point in the future. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, David. Scotty had to cut out at 8:30 because of school tomorrow. So I don't know if he heard you or not, but I will relay the message to him. If
I might could dig around and find his phone number, but yeah, try to. Well, he's got a license, so he's got a QRZ page.
If he's got his call sign yet, he may not have his call sign yet. It may take a few days. Okay, who's next?
I got something for you, Sam.
I'm sorry.
3 RTC.
Hey, go ahead, Steve.
All right. I've I approach this thing a little differently. Knowing the subject of the meeting, 2 weeks ago, I says, what could I build? Well, I looked around and I had an old Alliance antenna rotor, which I'd lost the box, the control box for. And in 2 weeks, I've managed to make 5 Amazon purchases on smile.amazon, of course, including replacing a LCD display, which I blew up, a Android Nano, which I blew up. I had a spare of that. Had to buy everything from grease to whatever. And I thought, well, could I get it done by tonight? It's held together with hot glue and rubber bands. But what I did was put together a rotor control box for that old rotor. I figured it had to be at least 50 years old. And it's not done. I've got about 300 lines of code, which I still need to debug because there's a bug in there someplace. I know I've got some noise problems, and eventually I'm going to have to figure out how to mount a feedback system to get my position. But what I've got so far, I took an old rotor box and I took a Dremel tool with a cutter. My finger's about healed now, but cut out all the insides and just used the transformer and the capacitor for running the motor and the rotor. But I put on 2 buttons, one to go clockwise, one to go counterclockwise, one for automatic, and a pot, which will show the display of what I want in degrees and the display of where the thing is in degrees off of a pot that has to be mounted. My problem was when I tried to show it on the camera, it didn't show up. So I'm going to try a little trick, and I'm going to switch in the middle of it. But if things work, as I push to rotate it in one direction, and I push, I can rotate it in the other direction, which wasn't very hard. It's all run off of the microprocessor. But I can't read these numbers. The antenna right now is saying it's at 118 degrees, and I want it to go to 79 degrees. So I just hit the button, and I can watch it move, and it is now 79 degrees. So that's the real nice part of it. I can set my control, say, okay, go to 205, and you're able to watch it. Now, while you're doing that, I'm going to try one thing here. I'm going to mute my mic. And see if I can talk on the phone and eventually try to find out how to get the camera to work on the phone, because the phone actually works. The problem is I'm also hearing myself talk, which is unfortunate. I can't find myself. But just give me a moment. Should be. Well, doesn't look like it's going to work. It's kind of like what David had when you try to do, oh, there we go. And one more step. But anyway, what I've got on the display is a little bar graph where it shows the position being commanded. And it also shows the position of the rotor. And as I turn the knob on the one knob, it actually shows the display. So let me go back to the computer. And I'll kill the phone input and see if you have any questions.
Steve, who made the rotor itself?
This is an Alliance Tenna.
Is it a U100? Do you know the model number on it?
I think it's the same as an AR-22, Don.
It's a model C225, I believe.
Oh, okay.
I think AR-22 makes one like it.
I'm
Steve,
sorry,
are
the
you
number
using
again was CR225?
It's the 225. There's two different controllers that went with this rotor. And I found the manual on it. And if I remember right, the control box I had was a C225.
Thank you.
Steve, are you using the pot in the rotor for the feedback? I got no audio. Woohoo.
You're on.
Am I on?
Good, Dick.
Yes.
Steve, are you using the pot in the rotor for the feedback, for the position feedback or time or?
I am using a external pot at the moment because I haven't figured out how to mount it. It has the internal pot in there, but it's a rheostat. It's not a pot.
Yeah.
So, and the center point is grounded through the whole mechanism. It just
Wow.
did so much noise, I couldn't get it to settle down. Plus, having blown up a couple of boards in there kind of set me back. I had to wait until I got a new delivery from Amazon. So I ran out of time. So what I did was I just glued a pot on the back of it right at the moment. What I'd like to do is go in with a multi-turn pot and gear it off of the actual worm gear. But that pot in there, the rheostat in there, wire wound and grounded throughout the whole mechanism, just, I couldn't get it to settle down and give me a decent reading.
Hey, Steve, if you need any nanos, I got a box full of them.
I think I got about 4 or 5 more, maybe 3.
Amazing little board, isn't it? For
It's a
$5 or
beautiful
$6.
Yeah, that's, I think I've got a bunch of them. I've got several of the ESP32 units. I've got like 4 Unos, 4 or 5. I even have, counting the ones in use, 4, I think, Raspberry Pis. So, like this, I'm using a Raspberry Pi to run my radio. If I get on the air anymore, I'm going through the Raspberry Pi.
I don't know if you can see this. There's a little Uno or Nano board in here. I use it with my boat anchors for a muting device for my SDR receiver. Runs off the PC, so that I don't, so I don't get feedback when I key up the old boat anchor. Share that idea with you sometime. It's kind of neat.
The amazing thing is that they are so inexpensive and so easy to use.
Yeah.
I got a little bit of stuff to do on the program, but it's 300 lines of code threw together in a day or two, and it's all come together, that aspect, nicely.
Very nice.
Okay. Any more questions for Steve? Thank you, Steve. That was neat. Okay. Who else?
I've got one if nobody else is.
Okay.
And this is more, first of all, I want to say hi to Neil, N4FN. He walked all the way up here from Atlanta so he could see us. Wasn't that nice of him? Good evening, Neil. And K4MV is hanging around here too. Often he's lurking in the background, but he's here. This is and I'm going to mess around with my computer too, because I don't normally use a pad for this. But that's what I'm using right now because it's got an easier camera. And with some luck, I can turn that around. And with some luck, you can see it. And then I have to hope that I can keep the stupid flap on the pad out of the way, which may be a real technical challenge. Okay, that's good. Now this thing itself is it's an interesting little toy. It's got an SO239 and a power jack. And what it is a homemade antenna analyzer. Gives you a graphical SWR and stuff like that for the antenna. It runs on a Arduino Uno and a board that was originally derived by Jack Purdom, W-A-T-E-E. And the software is done by a fellow in New York, I believe. And then you get to learn how to put it all together and make it play. The thing that I wanted to bring it here for was not as much the device itself, but the packaging, because I always obsess over the fact that I have to have a bezel on a screen and I have to have the bezel straight and there can't be any scratch marks on any of it. And the obsessions just go on and on. So this is my cure for that obsession, to make it more like ham radio and fun instead of OCD. There is no penetration of the box at all. It's a clear plastic box with a opaque bottom. 4 screws hold it together, and you can buy it on Amazon for about $6. I was a little concerned. This will be cute if this works. I think it's going to work. Hang on a minute. My on-off switch, as you can see, is plugging the power in. And if this does anything for me, yeah, you can read it. Okay. And it's an encoder over here that has a press button on it. So paddle fingers here attempts to run it and hold a pad that wants to cover up the camera all at the same time. But you can menu select up there, push on the top of the little encoder, and then menu select here. And it'll draw a graph for you of the antenna that you're using at the time. But the main reason that I brought it was not as much the fact that that it does what it does, but how it's packaged, because those boards are basically held together by a set of bolts, machine screws, 440s, that go through to the bottom, those 4 holes there. And they just stack in there and give you the ability to put a microprocessor and a solid state signal generator, a display board and a display, all inside about a 2-inch, maybe not quite a 2-inch box. And you don't have to cut any holes at all. So you don't even have to have a bezel. And that's the toy of the evening here. Okay.
Any questions for Dick?
Where's the antenna connector? And then on the other side?
Yeah.
There it is.
Military surplus from 1945, SO239. Yeah, you can't hardly see inside it, but that's basically a piece of RG-174, I think. Teflon coax at any rate, soldered to it and goes over to the bridge portion of the board.
That's the good stuff, Teflon.
Mm-hmm. All righty.
Well, thank you, Dick. That looks good. Anyone else tonight?
I can show a quick one if it isn't getting too late.
Okay.
And some of you seen this, and it's been some time ago since I did this, but I work 160 a lot, and I run QRP on there in the contest just to for the fun of it. But at any rate, I need to have the antenna tuned at all time and everything working good. So my antenna covers about a 40 kc segment with a 1.4 to 1 SWR, say. And so I have to tune it as I go across the band. So what I did, I built a Arduino system that reads the frequency off of the rig, because the frequency is being polled by the login program all the time. So I just monitor those packets. And as I go across the band, it switches taps on an antenna for me, or on a coil at the base of my antenna. And it's in a box. I know how the displays don't show up on the camera, but this is my control box, and I can manually punch in a spot to go, or I put it in auto mode and it reads the frequency off the rig and switches the coil taps as I move across the band. So then I decided, well, I may as well see what else I can do with it. So I decided to try to control my amplifier with it. And on the alpha amplifier, I have a couple of airplane servo motors there. And as I go across the band, this tunes the amp. So if I want to run high power on there, I can, in a contest, if I'm looking at packet spots and popping on them, I can jump from one end of the band to the other. In about 3 seconds, I'm ready to transmit. And I can go through and set the load and tune on the amp and put those values in for any frequency on any band. And then the display shows me the band that I'm on and the segment of the band I'm in. So this little box sends a signal out to a nano out at the tower over RS4. Yeah, it's over a current loop out to the tower. And that little Arduino out there switches the antenna taps. It's all been in operation for about probably 7 or 8 years now. Never had anything fail. And the Arduino out at the tower is just hanging out in midair. I was too lazy to put it in a box. So RF don't seem to bother any of it. Running 1500 watts, it's happy as can be. And I've never had it fail so far. And it's amazing that those old Arduinos can hold up to that kind of environment, especially out there with heat in the summertime in that box, which is painted black. I'm sure it gets pretty hot and freezing in the wintertime. So maybe I'm just lucky. Anyway, it was a fun project to do too.
Fantastic. I love the chain drive on the amplifier.
Yeah, that
ham operators are the most ingenious guys. That's awesome, man.
The biggest thing was trying to find some chain drives that everything now for most of the planes, I think I'm right, it's gone to belt drives. And this was something I just happened to run across and fix the knobs or the gears up so they'd fit on my shafts there. But it's a pretty good working thing. And you could use this same software and stuff to run an antenna tuner or anything to tune you across the band. like I said, it works in about 3 seconds. I put a little delay in it just to make sure it has time. And then when this sends the signal out there and does it, it answers me back in here, and I can tell that it's tuned, tuned up the band. So.
Excellent.
That's pretty neat, Gene.
And it did net me first place world QRP on 160 one year, which I worked my whole life to get to. And that was, I guess that was the best it did.
Got a quick question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The servo motor, we say aircraft, you running them off 400 cycles?
They're just the regular servo motors running off of 5 volts off the Arduino.
Okay, because most aircraft servos are AC 400 cycles.
Oh, no. This is just the little hobby servo motor.
Yeah, those are from models.
Yeah, and I do have, I'm running a little more voltage on them. I don't know if y'all can see that or not. I can't, but I've got, I'm running just a little bit more voltage than you're supposed to make sure they drive really good and don't have any lag to it. But
yeah, being an old retired aircraft guy, as soon as you said aircraft, I think 400 cycles.
yeah, I got one of those old prop pitch motors sitting up there at the building. Never have used it.
Thanks.
Gene?
Yeah.
It's Neil, N4FN. I have to tell you the first time I saw a system similar to yours was at the late Dick Spenceley, King Victor IV Able in St. Thomas. And I had the opportunity of working from his station. When Dick came out of the Navy after World War II, he's now, of course, Silent Key. He was the Wurlitzer jukebox distributor in the Caribbean. And his rotor was the motor from a Wurlitzer jukebox. Well, the way he had the rotor control set up, he had a chain drive across the wall of his shack. It was about 10 feet with a big metal pointer. And I guess what I would call a large joystick. And when he wanted to move the rotor, he would activate this chain drive and you would hear rum, 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 rum. And that was the motor and the train drive changing the direction. A little bit of info on Dick Spenceley. He was a really fine CW operator. And to my knowledge, he was the only ham to make the Guinness Book of World Records. And the title was the world's most assiduous ham. And he made something like 45,000 CW QSOs in 1 year.
Gosh.
And he was an amazing guy, really nice man. And when I operated from his station, the only caveat was I had to use his call. And but he was a great guy, and passed away some years ago. It was a real loss. He was a real active ham on St. Thomas, along with John Ackley, KP2A, who's still on the air. Anyway, it reminded me of seeing the chain drive.
Yeah, that's pretty neat.
Okay, that's great. Anyone else tonight? Well, that was 9 great presentations. We appreciate that. One final call. No one else. Okay. Again, we'll hang around and talk if you want to when the meeting is over. I'll remind everyone about the board meeting a week from tonight at 7:30 via Zoom. Anyone have anything else for tonight?
Sam, I've got one thing. The Blue Ridge, let's see, what do they call it? The Briar Patch Radio Club in Galax, Virginia, is doing testing on Thursday night. and
Right.
they're inviting anyone up there to do so. It is free right now before the FCC fees kick in, but it's free to do. So anyone wants to take a test or upgrade or whatever, it's in Galax, but it's Thursday evening.
That's at a church. I don't remember the name of it.
It's the Briar Patch Radio Club. Briar Patch Radio Club.
Right, but they're doing it at a church.
Church or I can't. Yes, it was at the First Baptist Church. It was at the First Baptist Church in Galax, Virginia.
If you're willing to drive on snow.
Well, it's free though. It'll save you $15 worth of gas. Might just work out.
Yeah. Thank you, Jerry. That's good information. Anyone else?
Question about earlier. What was the characteristics of the Virginia wireless device law that what's it going to be in North Carolina? What I found for Virginia applied only to, which I'm hoping is find out if there's a different one, applied only to school bus operations.
I think it applies to cell phones statewide.
Do you have a reference for that? A bill number, assembly number?
I think it's a done deal. I'd have to look it up. I don't have that in front of me.
For North Carolina, it's a done deal?
No, not for North Carolina. For Virginia, it is.
Okay. Do you have any bill numbers or any reference for North Carolina?
No.
Okay.
I just know it's you keep your eyes open. It's on the way, and sometimes they they exempt ham operators, but it's later on down the road.
Mm-hmm.
I think in Virginia they exempted CB operators also. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they have to do something. In some states, they wind up enforcing themselves. In other words, the police department doesn't have the right to use the radio. So they have to make provisions sometimes.
Right.
Yeah, what I found for the Virginia one is 46.2-919.1 Chapter 8. If that's not the right one, maybe somebody else can find it. I posted it to the chat.
NC House Bill 144, Dustin says.
NC House Bill 144, is that correct?
Right.
Okay.
Yes, Sam?
Yes.
I got an update. I looked up the Briar Patch Amateur Radio Club, and test session is 7 o'clock. Walk-ins are welcome, the usual stuff you got to bring, but test sessions are held at the Carroll County Fire and Rescue Building in Hillsville, Virginia, unless otherwise announced. And
that may have changed. I'll make sure with David if they have changed that, but he told me the First Baptist Church.
Yeah, well, this is what's on the website, and I don't see any place there's no updates on it. It said January the 14th, 21. So it could be that they've had to move it and didn't change the website. Let's see what the test. Amateur Radio License Club, Briar Patch, January the 14th. Well, it will be held at the First Christian Church.
Ah, okay.
This is a different website, W4GHS, golfhotelsierra.org. So they apparently have two different websites. I don't get that. But anyway, this was a link that they had, and I clicked the link, and it's the First Christian Church there in Galax. And
I was told the First Baptist, but I'm glad you corrected that.
Yeah, First Christian, because
you can contact N4VL if you need the particulars.
Yeah, I think what is that? 145. What is that?
430. Oh, 130.
Yeah, gotcha.
Okay, anything else? Okay, do I hear a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Hallelujah. That was a good meeting. I really enjoyed the presentation.